say the Rotary Grace. We thank thee, Father, for thy care, food, friends, and fellowship we share. May we forever keep in mind all those whom life has left behind. Thank you.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you very much, Tony. We hope to induct you very soon. Thank you for volunteering to do this task today. Next, we have the loyal toast by the president. So if you have a glass, please charge it. If not, place your hand over your right hand over your heart. So to His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, to the President.
To the President.
Next, we shall have the 4-way test by Rotaractor Chelsea Nyambura. Rotaractor Chelsea.
Good evening, everyone. The 4-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendship? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Thank you very, very much, Rotaractor Chelsea. Thank you for always ensuring that we have someone to say the 4-way test every Monday, and for your continued support. Next, we shall go to announcements. And for the announcement, we shall start with the IPP, just to tell us what she was up to over the weekend. Immediate past President Njoki Maingi.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for the ambush. We went to see baby Audrey. Baby Audrey belongs to our community service director. That is Joel. We managed to represent the club in Kushika Mtoto because during this hard times, it's not good for crowds and newborn. So I accompanied the president to visit the baby. We were warmly hosted by Joel and his family. And yeah, we look forward to seeing more babies in the club. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very, very much, IPP. The next announcement is from the service projects docket. I'll make this on behalf of the service project director. And this is just an update on the project that we are working on, the literacy project with the Rotary Club of Dundas Valley Sunrise in Ontario, Canada. Project is still on track. They're really excited. We keep interacting with them, sharing more information. And we shall call upon members to join, the project once. We already have members who are ongoing the communication, but once we firmed up everything, we shall put that out so that more members can get involved. I encourage members, guests, even Rotarians from other clubs, if you have a passion for service, this is a good avenue. Literacy is quite big. We decided to stop teaching the person how to, we stopped giving the person fish, and we're giving them nets and teaching them how to fish. It's the future that we are investing in. So we hope to get more and more people involved in this project and make it a success. I mean, we started with 15,000, ended up at 35,000, 15 got to 30, got to 50, and potentially the project might be 70,000. If there's more interest, it might be bigger. I mean, who knows? So let's make this a success. It's the first project we're building ground up, and it would be good to be part of it. Thank you. The next announcement is from Club Admin Director, Liz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Friends and family of Rotary, good evening. From the Club Admin desk, we have 3 announcements. The first one is on the twinning trip with the Kampala Metropolitan, which is going to take place on the 19th to the 21st of March. Costs have already been shared, logistics have already been shared, and then there's also a WhatsApp group to that effect. So anybody who wants to join in on that, please follow the link and join in on the WhatsApp group. Then in Nanyuki, we're going to have the district club assembly, which is going to take place in April in Nanyuki. That is going to be on the 8th to the 10th of April 2021. Costs have already been shared. Accommodation has already been planned. Costs are at 13,500 shillings per person, sharing on half-board basis. Transport is on self-drive basis. That is 2 nights. So anybody who wants to join in on that, please, we're going to share the poster immediately after the meeting. Then the third announcement is on guest speakers. Anybody with the referrals, you can always side chat. You can always talk to myself, the president, or the IPP. You give us referrals. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director Liz. Yes, we encourage members to attend the DCA, to attend the Uganda trip. We had a great time at the coast, and now they are returning the hand. So it will be great to go there in masses. Those who know the Ugandans, they really rock up. So let's not disappoint. For the DCA, again, encouraging members, let's register, let's syndicizana as well, if need be. Let's go have a lot of fun. And finally, for guest speakers, we are thankful, Liz, for all that you're doing for us. So keep up the great work. So we shall move to the introduction of the guest speaker, and that will be done by none other than our beautiful Vice President, Wanja Mugongo. VP.
Thank you, Mr. President, for that introduction. And it is good to be here this Monday evening with the cold. Good evening, fellow Rotarians, Rotaractors, and guests. As you've heard, my name is Wanja Mugongo. I'm the currently VP Madaraka, and I have the honor of introducing our guest today. So I will keep it brief and just get right into it. Our guest today is none other than Stalin M. Moses. He is a member of Rotary Madaraka. Moses is a director and principal software engineer, Core InfoEdge Business Solution Limited. Role is based in security architecture and of IBS Enterprise Web Distributed System and IBS Enterprise Mobile Systems. These systems are used in Kenya, Uganda, and Nigeria by organizations such as banks, and including but not limited to Bank of Africa, Housing Finance, Toyota, Ericsson, USIU, DT Dobby, Aondo PLC Nigeria, among others. Moses will be speaking to us this evening around security, on the internet security, cyber security basically, and he will be sharing how safe are we working remotely now, given that we have to work from home and various other places. So karibu sana Stalin, Moses. The floor is yours. The crowd is yours, yes.
Thank you. One second. Thank you very much for the intro. So I'll just go straight into it. This is not my usual crowd. Usually, I have a different crowd in front of me, but I'm honored to be here. So, internet security. I'll give you a background of what I do further, just so that you can understand more. So in software engineering, And what we do is our systems interact with the internet all the time. And lately, it has been a necessity that our clients are able to access their portals even when they're at home. Some of them, decision makers need to make decisions via the workflow. So it's very important that if an email is sent to an approver, that email can be confirmed as a legitimate email. So we have three types of companies that you will find with regard to security. So we have companies that have been hacked and do not know about it. We have those companies that have never been hacked, and we have those ones that are hacked frequently. So, and the concept of internet security will be, if I may put it in a layman's language, is basically, say, for example, you walk on the streets and then you meet a stranger. You'll probably just look at the person and not register that person. But if, say, for example, you're using your phone or you're using your VR glass, then this is a record that is stored somewhere, such that if a computer sees that again, it will recognize that this is so and so, and it will be able to interlink with various web services and determine where you're coming from, where do you live, where do you work, etc. So what are the tools that we use for working at home? First of all, we have the internet, and we have collaboration apps. This will be things like Zoom, Teams, GoToMeeting, you name them. There's the VPN and there's the cloud. So all these form entry points for your security. I'll just take a look at the three recent well-known breaches that we are probably aware of. In December, we had the SolarWinds Orion, which experienced a malware attack. In January this year, there was that Google downtime. It's not clear whether it was a hack. Google says it was due to a quota issue. And Tesla, there's an employee of Tesla who was offered $1 million to try and compromise the system at Tesla. Of course, that did not happen. So I picked these scenarios so that we can be able to have a look at what does it mean when you're talking about safety and working remotely. So one of my specialties is in microservices, and microservices involves things like authentication, which is very common to all of us. You'll find that when you're signing into a new app, it asks you to sign either with Facebook or Google or Microsoft Outlook. So all these are authentication services. So basically, like the example I gave about you walking on the streets and meeting someone who is a stranger, if that person asked you for money, you'll probably not give them. But if that person was with your mother or sister or relative, they ask you for money, you'll ask your mother if it's okay for them to give you that money, for you to give them that money. So this is what Google, not Google, the authentication services do. So if you're going to log into a new app and you sign in using Google, what that new app does is asking you, Google, is it okay if I give access to so and so? And Google says, yeah, it's a fine person, I know them. That is one sort of internet security that you get by assurance from an authentication service. Now, the Tesla issue, which is very common, when you work for a company, it's when people hack the company, usually it's an internal thing. So how well do you trust your employees, or how well have you put your tracking systems in the company to be able to know that if there was a certain breach, this was where it originated? A number of times it's usually due to, and this is very common as well, especially with companies within Africa. Most people do not take the password issue seriously. Some of them really get annoyed when they are asked to change their passwords and all those. The funny thing is, even people who are asked to change passwords for their bank accounts, they're annoyed, and it's their bank account that they're asked to secure. So you find that these are very good sources for hackers to breach a company account. So if you do not have good systems, say for example, if someone called Tom works for your company, and then they are paid $1 million to compromise. So basically the compromise will be installing a software or putting a connection between the company and an outside access. If they agree to it, then you should be able to know which user was the one that granted this access, and then you'll be able to track backwards and get to the source of the breach. Are we safe? I'm taking this question to mean, is the company safe in terms of when people work remotely? For example, when Amazon banned its employees from using TikTok, many people were upset. They were saying it was controlling their social life. But actually, even applications like Facebook, applications like Skype, there was a breach that was discovered by researchers that when you dial, as soon as it starts dialing, it's able to listen to the environment. So these are the kinds of things that if you're working in a sensitive company, even some companies will not allow you to get into a meeting with your phone because of these kinds of breaches. Those breaches were corrected, just to be clear, but this used to happen. When you dial using a WhatsApp number, in as much as it was encrypted, it was only encrypted between the servers. So as it dials, even if you've not picked, it was able to listen. What are some of the risks that can expose you into insecurity? This is like I mentioned, there's a password sharing, there's using unlicensed applications, torrents. Some people like to download using torrents, which are peer-to-peer networks. Using outdated operating systems, like for instance, if you use unsupported systems like Windows 8 going down, or older versions of Linux and so on. Online video games. These are applications that are hard to encrypt because they use heavy payload. What can companies do to make themselves more secure? They can manage their backup, at least have offline backup, work on their disaster recovery for their business, recovery in case of a disaster. System updates, very important. Like recently, we had over 300 vulnerabilities which were patched by different operating systems. Two-factor authentication. Many people, because of convenience, they've decided that they do not like to keep answering or keep keying a verification code, which is very important. It could save you, especially if you're an important person or likely to be a target. And then in the future, companies, including our company, we're working on passwordless authentication. Currently, most organizations like the CIA and security organizations are using it, but on beta, which has proven to be more effective in preventing breaches, especially since hackers they really love passwords. So with that, I don't know if there's any question. Are we safe working remotely? We can be safer.
So is there before our guest speaker, which is Stalin, moves on, he would like to know if any of you has any burning question with respect to where we are. So I see one hand up, and this is from Director Joel. Please go ahead and ask the question.
Thank you, Sterling, for this. I think it's a timely conversation that we need to have. In terms of the breaches, especially on SolarWinds, that has a firewall component to it, what has been done towards it? And then number two, if I'm using my VPN, how secure am I, given that most VPNs domicile in countries that probably might not have jurisdiction on data protection, especially now? And what are your thoughts on the Data Protection Act of Kenya?
Okay, so that's from our director, Joel. Our VP has asked a couple of questions in the message box. So I'll read them out for you. And then you can go to your second, just respond to them and you go to your second part of your presentation. So our first question is, she was asking with respect to, Skype and WhatsApp, when you're dialing, they listen to the environment. So her question is, what is it listening to? Is it my conversation or the environment? Some clarity on that, please. That's number one. And the second question is, what's your thought on the whole WhatsApp migration issue? What are your thoughts? Rotarian Stalin, over to you.
Okay. I'll just tackle as they are asked. In terms of SolarWind, first of all, Microsoft, the team at SolarWind, they work together with a lot in collaboration with Microsoft, and Microsoft is one of the best in the security, in the internet security field. So, and SolarWinds being a very unique attack, it shows that it was created by a very advanced hacker with very specific targets on government, because SolarWinds is a big organization that mainly supports governments. So it was mainly for espionage purposes. So the breach happened in a very unusual way. Usually when attackers attack your machine and you have antivirus, we have something called the sandbox. This basically is like an isolation of a program so that you can evaluate its whether it's risky or not. But the SolarWinds attack was a very dormant one that stayed almost like Corona. I think someone thought about how Corona was happening, because it stays almost for 2 or 3 weeks before it decides now to wake up and attack your machine. So far what has happened is there are many collaborators, companies, antivirus and hackers from Microsoft, from SolarWinds. SolarWinds has a very huge team of engineers in this kind of line who have developed a prevention mechanism. Usually, by default, when a server is set, it does not monitor connections that are going out, or there are certain IPs that are isolated, treated as safe IPs. So what they've done to minimize this is they have reduced the number of trusted IP addresses that can communicate with the outside world. But the fix is still ongoing because it's still not 100%. But the breach did not achieve much, at least from the information that we have gotten. In terms of VPN, how safe they are? Well, VPN is as safe as the company. Just like I said, a company like Google can be used by many applications. We also use the same for some of our applications for authentication because of the level of trust they have obtained. And now you can imagine a company from China being used. I'm not saying this with any bad intention, but China is known to, like for instance, the issue we are having right now with Huawei. They are known to keep what we call a backdoor for calling home, especially when it comes to their products. So like Huawei, is the reason people are having doubt with them is because they feel like it's even with the situation that happened in Ethiopia, they installed a listening device which was dialing home at a given time. So basically stealing information, which is So same thing with VPN. VPN is supposed to be, you should use a trusted company. Usually, most VPNs that are open source can be trusted because we have many programmers that their code is exposed for us to evaluate. It's open to the public. So it's good to use recommended VPN companies if you want to be safe with your data. Some of them will tell you they are VPN networks, but if you look keenly, you'll find that they have a very specific IP address which they share. So the concept of VPN is like getting a blank bus ticket. No one is supposed to know where you're going, but if you use VPNs that even I can just figure out within a few commands where you're trying to browse, then clearly that VPN is not trusted. Data Protection Act of Kenya. So most of the contents of this, and my knowledge of this is based on the PS. We had there was a virtual meeting about Konza, and I asked the same question. So I asked about what the Act is doing in terms of the data that they plan to set up to store basically the data for Kenya. Most of the details are borrowed from the EU Act. So as it is now, we still need to create one that is specific for Kenya. And in fact, Africa needs to rethink, in my opinion, the issue of data. At this point, I don't think we're in a position to do that because we are still vague in how we are dealing with everything. We're just thinking of, we're not thinking of how we can secure the data locally, because as companies here, we feel like the data is not first of all, we need, rather than punitive laws, we need laws that are supporting the IT sector. And if we are able to get there, then that would make more sense. I'm not keen on the details of the Act, but my opinion is we still have to create our own laws with regard to that. And then there's the Skype and WhatsApp question. Okay, so basically, we have, there's a lot that you can, I don't know how many of you use Amazon Alexa or the Google Home. So we are moving, and we cannot escape it. We are moving into a digital world. It's actually happening right now as we speak. But even Amazon employees, when they go to a board meeting, they will turn off the Alexa, and it's their product, right? So listening to the environment, it can pick anything. It can pick what you're discussing in a meeting. it can pick what is happening around, that kind of thing. So if you're an important person and trying to maintain a secretive life, then that will be what they are trying to capture. The WhatsApp Signal migration issue. Personally, I love Signal because it's open source, meaning my data is secure. It stores, I store my data, I control my data, as opposed to, for instance, WhatsApp, which has very many users, which stores data on server. The issue of them wanting to share IP address with Facebook, which is the same company, by the way, that issue was not taken lightly, especially in the IT community, and mainly because it is the approach they took, and then WhatsApp is a closed app, so you don't know if they're already taking that, because we do not have access to the code to verify what exactly it's doing. So it really depends. They say they have end-to-end encryption between users, so you just have to go with their word. With Signal, you can know because we are able to verify, because it's an open source application.
Okay, so we shall move to the next question, and this is there'll be two questions, Director Liz and Njoki Ndungu, Rote and Njoki Ndungu. Please go ahead and ask one question, please, so that we have more people asking questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, Sterling, I've heard you answering the question on WhatsApp, and that is in line with safety, privacy, and data protection. So does this mean that Signal, being open source, Signal and Subfrica, are they safer? Are they the safer options as well? This, of course, with Telegram. And then on such engines, are the likes of DuckDuckGo safer? And which VPN options are safer? Thanks for the three questions.
Okay. So do I go ahead and...
No, Njoki Ndungu, then you can answer together.
Thank you. My question is on public Wi-Fi in Matters VPN. What to look out for? Is it safe to use, even if it's password protected?
Okay, so I'll start with the Signal issue. Signal is definitely safer than WhatsApp. The only difference is you have to manage your own backup for Signal. You can either choose where you want to back it up, meaning if you uninstall Signal from your phone, the data will be gone because the data only rests in your phone. That was what initially WhatsApp was about until they started saving the data in servers. And the backup for WhatsApp also runs automatically on Google Drive because they had entered into a contract with Facebook with that regard. So the thing about data protection, I would say it's just how you back up the data. In terms of protecting the data from being seen by other eyes. We can only go with what Facebook says because no one knows the ins of the WhatsApp. And in as far as the signal is concerned, that one is assured. It is end-to-end encrypted. In terms of Telegram, also the same. Telegram is, I've not evaluated Telegram that much, but they have more options and they are also more open in terms of how they handle their data. It's an end-to-end encryption. The only problem is it does not come as a default. So public Wi-Fi. So whether or not public Wi-Fi is security protected, first of all, there's what we call file sharing on most machines. So when you connect to any Wi-Fi, you get a notification whether you want to share a file or print service. All these are terminals that can be used for hacking. All a hacker needs is that one access, one line of access. And lately, because of the internet need that people have, you'll find that one application has multiple requests outside. And by outside, I mean from, you'll actually excuse me because I feel like I'm dragging myself. I'm trying to use layman language as much as I can. So outside request basically is if you're making a phone call and you're calling someone from outside as opposed to running an application that just runs within your computer. So all a hacker needs to breach your machine is that one access. And with the automation of hacking and all the hacking tools that are out there, if I have a bot, for instance, that bot can send thousands of requests into your machine. So the likelihood of them succeeding on a public network is much higher than succeeding on a private network because the public Wi-Fi, it's easy to get to know which IP addresses you're dealing with. It's easy to capture the MAC addresses, which is a unique address of your machine. The VPN that I would recommend would be OpenVPN because I've used it and many other people in my field have used it, and we've always recommended that one. It has the security is assured. They also have very good client support. Not to beat the drum for them, but yeah, that's the kind of VPN that I would recommend. Just don't go for the free VPNs. There are free VPNs that are out there. Those ones you stand a very high risk of being hacked, especially if you're a company, because that's what there's something we call the pineapple. Pineapple is basically like if you go to a public place and there's a Wi-Fi, say in Java. I can put a pineapple that shows another Wi-Fi that is Java. And so you will end up either logging into mine, and then I make a proxy. You think you're accessing the correct network, but I'm here installing my things. So I think that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. For the next set of questions, I'll ask President Innocent Uko.
Thank you very much, President Malaki. My question has to do with the various meetings I've been able to attend, and you could say that somebody hacked the meeting. So with how are these guys able to hack these meetings besides the posters being circulated around? Is that the only way in which they were hacking the meetings? And in addition, can they acquire information about the users by simply hacking to those meetings? I believe that this relates to people. Thank you. People. Thank you.
Is there any other question? Last question. Okay, Roteria-san, please go ahead and answer.
Okay. So the hacking in meetings. So these are the simplest hacking trials that can ever happen. And initially, when people were just when COVID started and there were all these lockdowns, many hackers were very idle, and it was easy to develop a bot even during that boredom. Even I did one bot that would tweet on my behalf, but I never used it. So this one, usually it's a trial and an error mostly, besides the using of these links that are put in public. Are they able to, so the trial and error is not human trial and error, but using bots. Can they get information about users? This depends. It depends on how the user has accessed the meeting. If you've accessed it via an application, it's more difficult as opposed to if you've accessed it just via a web browser. And it also depends on which web browser you've used. Also, the other factor would be if you've logged into the meeting or you've accessed it anonymously. So that's a wrap.
Okay, so I'll ask the final questions, and this is from back in the day. We used to hear a story about certain internet service providers, ISPs, are safer than others, and thus you find financial institutions seldom use a certain provider that many people use at home. I won't mention their name. Is there any truth to that? Or is it more of, that provider who has many homes provides intermittent connection. And my second question is in terms of the systems that we use. There is talk of Mac being safer than Windows in terms of hacking and security. And also, I've seen parents investing quite heavily on their children. Like, they use an Android phone, but for their children, they'll buy a Mac because they're trying to say that they want to protect their children. Is there any truth in that? Thank you.
Okay, so the issue of ISPs, I find that to be interesting. So just like, first of all, you need to define who an ISP is, because if Safaricom gives me internet and then I give other people internet, who is the ISP in that situation? So if an ISP is giving you a shared internet as opposed to a dedicated internet, the shared internet will be less safe. And this is the one that you're talking about. Most homes are using shared internet. So basically it's one pipe distributed across multiple users. And what that means is even the speeds are distributed amongst these users. Unless the ISP is sniffing on you, I would say it's up to you to monitor your security. So for instance, if an ISP gives me internet, I always have to have my own router, which I can control if they insist on controlling that router. So in as far as that is concerned, it is your responsibility as much, because ISP is just to expose you to the world. How they do it, it's for you to determine whether you need extra security or not. Are Macs safer than Windows? This was a debate that has been going on for a really long time. So there are those companies. Windows has more users than Mac users, and Windows are used more in more enterprise applications than Mac users. So obviously, even these hackers are investors. They spend their time and money. So they will focus more on attempting to hack Windows machines than to hack a Mac machine. If the same effort was spent on Mac machines, I'm not sure if Mac will survive. They might have to put out patches the same way Windows is doing patches every now and again. But they also have the thing with Mac, the advantage they have is the fact that they are enclosing their ecosystem. So this means from the hardware level, the same way companies and enterprises invest in not just in software firewalls, but hardware firewalls, I can replicate that in the Mac machines being enclosed. So they have their own securities on the hardware itself, which they have not allowed for anyone else to edit by themselves. So for a hacker to be able to breach that, it might be difficult. So are they safer than Windows? No one has ever tested it in a fair level field. In my opinion, the Windows security is really tight. And I would use it in any military if I was at any government. And they're actually doing that. iOS for kids. Mac has really tried so much to customize, and they're also considering, removing some options for companies that used to have an advantage, companies like Google and Facebook, in terms of access of the hardware, just because of the security issue. The same thing that I mentioned about applications phoning home. So there's a lot of this that happens with Google and Facebook. Google could be for the security reasons, but of course they are also collecting data in terms of location and things like that. So it's just a matter of having less options with iOS as opposed to being exposed to the world with an Android phone. Personally, I have both, but I rarely use iOS because of its limitations to what you can do. I would think parents probably are doing it for this purpose, because they're also given options to block certain features from iOS, which Android phones do not. For Android phones, you have to rely on applications that companies develop.
Well, thank you very, very much, Rotarian Stalin. So for the next part, I'm going to invite our past president, Henry Dirangu, to give the vote of thanks.
Thank you, President Malaki. I was fascinated hearing of a pineapple in the context of IT. And I remember that ladies love pineapple. So quite an interesting analogy or use. I don't know if they're related. Besides that, I think that moments like this remind us of how rich we are. Listening to Stalin talk about his profession and share his views, he's not just regurgitating theory that he's learned over time, but he's also sharing his professional views, things that you'd ideally bill for. Reminds us of how rich we are to be in the family of Rotary. Personally, I look forward to days like this because when Stalin and I meet at a Rotary Fellowship, we are more likely to talk about other things, not necessarily our professional duties. But when we have an opportunity like this, then we get to understand who he is and what he does and how he contributes deeply to matters that affect us professionally, socially, intellectually, and he is now indelibly part of our personal and collective growth. I want to thank you, Stalin, for sharing your time, sharing your wisdom, and sharing your views with this club and making us richer personally and collectively. May God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, past President Henry. So for the next part, I shall invite Director Joel, who is our sitting in SAA. Citizen SA rather. Joel, take the floor.
Hello?
Hello, Joel. Director
Oh,
Joel.
you can hear me? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah. So we are that part of the evening where we collect monies to help us run our club. And we do it in what I consider a rather friendly way. So we shall start with the fines for the latecomers. Najijua. President, please put up the pay bill number. We don't want anybody having excuses. Thank you very much. So for anybody who joined the meeting late, tafadhali tumeni pesa kwa hiyo bank account. Second one, I know most of us are back to work and therefore will not have an excuse of I am in my nightie or t-shirt for lapel. So kama una lapel, tuma pesa. And then this is a special one. Bwana President said ask one question. Liz, you went overboard and asked 3 questions. So tafadhali to pay pesa for breach of instructions. As we are keying in pasa details, please also remember happy dollar, sad dollar. And for anybody who also wants to contribute to the foundation, they can do that now. Okay. Anybody who wants happy dollar, sad dollar? Yes, Kashi, go ahead.
Mine is a sad dollar. I almost got carjacked over the weekend, but I'm glad some people came to my rescue.
Pole.
Hello?
Yes, Rotarian Stalin.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I have three happy dollars. One, because it's a Monday. 2, for all the people that have joined in today. And for the questions, for the good questions.
I have 2 happy dollars. One for the guest speaker, Stalin, that was quite insightful. Second one is for the rains. Nairobi had become a bit dry. And then I have 5 foundation dollars. Last call for happy dollar, sad dollar. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Michael, and also to Josiah, who was logged off. Thank you, Barbara.
May I have a go?
Yes, you can. Yes, you may.
Thank you. Thank you very much, SA, for this evening. I have a couple of happy dollars. The first one is to Keshi. That's a happy dollar that you're here with us. We're thankful. The next happy dollar is to the guest speaker, Rotarian Stalin. Thank you very much. It's always great to hear what our members are up to, what they do. We get to know you better when you speak to us. And as Past President Henry said, is this information, if we were to pay for it, we would pay a lot of money for it. So thank you for giving it to us. We are empowered. The next happy dollar is for the weekend. It was great visiting Director Joel. And after we visited him, I got a very nice bargain for something that I purchased. So I have a happy dollar for that. The final happy dollar is it's Monday. It's a good day. And thank you all for being here. Okay, so Rotarians and friends, I'd like to thank all those who have joined us this evening. So for the final toast, please charge your glasses. If you don't have a glass, just press your right hand over your heart. So to the Rotary Club of UON Afia, the Rotary Club of Kampala Metropolitan, Rotary Club of Karen, Rotary Club of Westlands. This is Rotary Club of Nairobi Madaraka. I give you Rotary and Rotaract the world over.
Rotary and Rotaract the world over.
World over.
Well, thank you, everyone. Our guests, we meet here every Monday. Feel free to reach out to me, Director Mucho or Liz. And thank you all for being here. Have a lovely week and an awesome evening. Thank you.
Thank you.